and how people and culture can improve a company's culture.
Thank you, Bettina. My next question is, what according to you shapes a good culture for a company?
Sameera, that's the fundamental question I would say that all companies will ask themselves. I think it's the people working in the company, so it's all of us shaping the culture of a company. And of course, the line managers and people in culture teams, they can support in bonding activities, finding a common theme, selecting of course the right people, retaining them, giving them great development opportunities. But culture is not existing on a PowerPoint, it's how we live it every day, that we stick to our values and principles, and that we are really good role models as leaders in spreading these vibes and the culture throughout the company. It's also something that is evolving, you always set the North Star that you are heading to, but we need to breathe it and live it, and that's how it will then, spark the others with us in the teams.
So in her answer, she was focusing on how it's not something that you write on a PowerPoint. It's not words you write on a PPT and say, this is the values and these are the cultures. You have to go to office every day and be that person. So I can go ahead and say, the culture of my company is kind and empathetic, but you have to go and show that kindness and empathy in office as well. So introduction to CCHBC. It's in the FMCG industry, which is fast-moving consumer goods. They make bottles, cans and PET for supplying Coca-Cola in Austria, but also other regions in European Union. The thing with CCHBC is it operates in 29 countries in Europe. It started in 1928 to 29 in Austria, and now the headquarters is in Switzerland for the whole entire unit. I'll tell a little bit about Austria. It's a landlocked country in Central Europe. The local currency is euro, and it is a part of the European Union. So a normal Coke can in a supermarket chain, and the chains over there, like we have Reliance and Modern Bazaar here, are Billa Plus, Billa, Hoffa and Spar. So it costs around 2.5 euro, which is approximately 220 rupees in India. Recently, a new glass bottle was produced by the plant in Edelstadt, where the production happens for the bottles. It was distributed by the supply chain department. So here is a picture of the bottle, and if you see, the curve on this bottle is a little less. So usually the curves on the Coca-Cola bottle is a little more, but in this new bottle the curve is a little less. Next, I'll talk about the projects I worked on. So I worked on the European Works Council introduction PPT with Bettina. Now, what is the European Works Council? I really wanted to share this with all of you. So in the European Union, you have the EWC, which represents the workers, whereas the HR department in a company usually represents the company. So I'll give you an example. If you have an MNC which is operating in more than 2-3 countries, for example, Poland, Austria, Hungary and Germany, by law, by the European Union law, you are required to have a EWC. I'll give you an example. So if your contract is terminated or you are fired, you can take up the case with the EWC and say Coca-Cola terminated me unfairly and therefore I'm going to the EWC because I feel that I've been terminated wrongfully. I think EWC is something very unique to European Union, and it's a model that I believe should be replicated in Asia also. It would help all of us a lot. Second is Young Professional Program. So this is basically an international recruitment program where young graduates from all across the 29 countries are hired into Coca-Cola. The third thing I worked on was exit survey analytics and turnover data. This is essentially looking at data from 2019 till 2023, which is 5 years in Coca-Cola, and seeing why are sales representatives or marketing managers leaving Coca-Cola. What is the reason for their exit? So you found that Coca-Cola internally has these surveys, and one of them is called Pulse Survey. And you send it across to employees, and it's all anonymous, and they can tick the points like, do you have a poor relationship with your line manager? Do you think you're not fairly compensated? Do you think that there's a gap between reality and practice? You thought this is what marketing would be about, and then you're on the field and you're doing something else. Additionally, I also worked on Kaya, which means Come As You Are campaign. This was diversity, equity and inclusion. Again, these are words, so I'll give you an example. So currently there's a war in Ukraine happening with Russia. So there was a refugee there from Kiev, Ukraine. He was highly educated, and he applied for a job at Coca-Cola. And because there was war in his country, he had to officially apply as a refugee. And I think he had just joined in June. And when I spoke to Bettina about his application, what Bettina said was, we want to hire him because when we hire him, we give him a job, but also we give him something that probably nobody else can give him, a new life. He doesn't have to go back to a country that has war. So I think the diversity, equity and inclusion initiatives are really good at Coca-Cola in Austria. I also conducted some videos and I'll share the links later on the WhatsApp group so you all can see what makes people like Bettina and Tobias hire young graduates, what are they looking for. Right, this is Meet My Colleagues, People and Culture team at the Austria office. So the one in the black shirt is Tobias, he's the talent and development manager. The one in the white shirt is Angelica, she was handling employer branding and social media marketing. There is Bettina right behind me, she was an HR, and Natalie is the girl in the purple shirt. Natalie was handling HR but for the sales and commercial teams in specific. I also completed many trainings such as environment, safety and hygiene training and business ethics and anti-bribery training. What I really liked about Coca-Cola was they had an internal system called HELO, H-E-L-O. It's like the Hellenic learning system. So every month you would have these trainings, and like the test that we do every Saturday for our careers team at Vedica, they do similar tests and it's important and I think it's graded. So you could be, long term you could be fired if you don't do the tests. So my insights are mostly regarding Austrian law and European Union law. So again, like the company operates in a specific geographical context and therefore all business decisions follow rules set by the EU when it comes to employee rights and the obligations of the employer. I'll quickly wrap up. I really want to point out that I noticed a lot of inter-country collaboration, a lot of communication and international teams. Almost every day you would have the Austrian team working very closely with its European partners. I really liked the visit to Edelstahl plant. It was high technology, there was a lot of automation, a lot of robots. I'll give you an example. The production line in Edelstahl gave around 50,000 bottles in 1 hour and the plant would work for 24 hours. So that's like 50,000 bottles into 24 in 1 day. That's just the production of 1 day. I also learned some German words, but my German is still quite bad. Again, I'll quickly move through this. I also learned that the portfolio products are varied. I did not know that Costa Coffee is actually a brand of Coca-Cola, as is Monster Drink, Fanta. There are some spirits and there's a brand called Romaquel. It's like water, still and sparkling. Similarly, sales and commercial teams of every country are divided differently. So in the case of Austria, in particular, they had 2 divisions, out of home and inside home, but the difference was in OOH. They actually included restaurants and fuel stations, but also at-home division included supermarket chains. For supply chain, the bottle volume changed every 2 weeks, which was very interesting. So every 2 weeks, there was a person who was planning how many bottles should be produced. So there would be a job for a person and he would calculate, so, okay, this is the demand for these 2 weeks in July or August. I'm very grateful to Vedica and everyone here for giving me this opportunity. One of my top highlights was meeting the CEO. His name is Zoran Bogdanovic. This is his photo right over here. I quickly asked him what makes him want to hire a candidate, and he said there are 2 things. The first thing is there should be functional expertise, but besides the CV, he also looks at the values and character of a person, so it just cannot be based on the skills. Some fun facts about Coca-Cola: it tastes different depending on the type of beverage holder you use. So in a bottle, can or glass, it tastes different. Germany has cherry Coca-Cola, Austria has vanilla Coca-Cola and lemon Coca-Cola. So there are different products for different countries. And I'll be sharing some social media websites that I'm working on about my time in Austria. Danke! Thank you.